What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the Just Knock Smith channel. We have been putting on this 6-inch lift with traction bars from PMF. Just wanted to go ahead and pull it out of the shop before we do the finishing touches and throw the rock lights on and give this thing back to the customer. We've got the traction bars on, 4-link is on. We done that stuff before Music City Showdown. We still have to put on the sway bar and do the alignment on the front, which is going to be the track bar and the drag link. We're going to center the axle underneath the truck, but the color on this truck is Illusion Blueberry. If this is your first time tuning in to watching these episodes, don't forget, hop back onto the channel and watch all of the episodes. We have been powder coating a bunch of stuff underneath the truck. So I just wanted to make this quick little introduction before we hopped right into the video. We're also going to be doing the trailer hitch in the future. We've got the differential covers. We have the blocks, U-bolts, and the PMF bottom plates. We went with the Fox 2.0 reservoir rear shocks. All powder coated Illusion Blueberry by Single Shot Powder Coating. Traction bars from PMF. 4-link from PMF. The Icon dual rate coils. Like I said, we still got to put on the sway bar. Differential covers front and rear. So let's go ahead and hop right into this video. We're going to back the truck into the shop this time instead of pulling it in, so then we can focus on the front. We still have to check over all of the bolts and everything in the rear, double check the torque on the U-bolts, double check the torque on the leaf springs, the traction bars, the rear shocks, tighten all that stuff up, and the traction bars on the front too, the front brackets. And once we get all of that done, then all we will have left is the alignment, the sway bar in the front, and then putting on the fender liners in the rear along with the rock light install. So the fender liners in the rear is kind of going to go along with the rock light install. But I am going to go ahead and pull this truck, back it into the shop, and we'll go ahead and get started on checking over all of the bolts and everything, and then we will start putting the front end back together and doing the alignment, and I'll show you that and walk you through that, exactly what all we're going to have to do. So we've got everything in the rear tightened up, as you all just seen. The traction bars, U-bolts, leaf spring bolts, shackle bolts, the shock bolts, and that's pretty much it in the rear. We double checked all the brackets and everything. Everything in the rear is 100% done at this moment. Now, I'm going to be explaining to you what I mean by an alignment. So obviously you all see I don't have an alignment rack. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you all a little lesson right quick of what all of these components are exactly. So you've got a bar that goes from the axle right here. It mounts to the axle with the ball joint. It goes from the axle up to this bracket on the frame. So this bracket right here on the frame is a track bar bracket. So when you have a bar that goes from the axle to the frame, that's what is going to center your axle left to right underneath the vehicle. As I showed you all earlier in this video, the driver's side doesn't have as much offset or stance or as much poke as the passenger side. And the reason for that, guys, is the length of the track bar or panhard bar, I've heard it called both, is the distance from the axle to the frame is too long in this case. So since it's too long, it's going to push the axle over this way. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to shorten that track bar, and that's going to pull the axle over this way. this is how we're going to measure to center the track width perfectly, and this has worked every single time. You can measure it over and over and over, and it will work every time. So most vendors will have a flat spot in the Fords anyway. So what we're gonna do is just take a 2x4. You wanna put a super soft rag on it and let it float above it until you get it pressed firmly up against the fender, and then it'll just slide down. And you wanna do this right in the center of the wheel well. And then what we'll do, I can't do it on camera, but we will measure from the edge of the tread to the block of wood. And then what we'll do is we'll come over here on the other side and we will do the same thing. So as you can see, obviously the distance is a lot shorter on this side. And adjusting the drag link is going to center the steering wheel. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get it close. You want this pitman arm to be pointing straight forward when the steering wheel is straight. So once we get our track width perfect, you wanna do the track width first, and then you will be able to adjust this, and it's gonna throw this off quite a bit. And then we will literally just twist this counterclockwise or clockwise and change all of that. We'll have to take this piece right here out, so then it will allow you to spin this. Won't be no big deal, and that's how you're going to make the wheel straight whenever you're going down the road. So I'm gonna go ahead and time lapse doing the track width, and then once we get the track width done, I'll show you guys the measurements and everything, and we will be able to start on the drag link. I'll time lapse that, etc. But that's pretty much how you're going to align it. And the reason that we don't have to touch the tie rod bar is because that was already aligned on an alignment rack before we took the truck apart, and that hasn't changed. We haven't had the tie rod bar off, and we haven't adjusted it any at all whatsoever. So as far as your toe, which is your wheels pointing straight with each other and they're not towed in towards each other or out towards each other, that hasn't changed any, so we don't have to fool with that. What did you guys think about that? That was pretty cool. I don't know if you could see that in that time lapse. The whole truck literally shifting over. We've got her dialed in, both sides, right around 2.5, or maybe the little line past that. She's dialed. So since we dialed in the track width, it is, you know, obviously the same stance on each side. Boom. Now, I don't know if you can see, but the wheels are going straight, but look at, I don't know if you can see, but the wheels are going straight, and look at the steering wheel. So that steering wheel is not happy right there. So now we are going to have to adjust the drag link. And if you can see, the pitman arm is crooked. So your pitman arm is what controls your steering wheel. So whenever we make this pitman arm straight, the steering wheel should be straight, because that's how we put the pitman arm on, is with a straight steering wheel. So I just now got done having a miniature heart attack. Literally a miniature heart attack. The drag link that we bought apparently is too long. So I'm gonna have to cut some of the threads off of it to gain more adjustment. I don't know if that's like a normal thing. It's like whenever you align it, or never ran into this problem. But also, I've always got the pitman arm on and then built Heim steering with the measurements from the pitman arm hole to the factory knuckle hole. But anyway, let me show you what I'm talking about. So I went under here Let me turn this flash on. So I got under here and I disconnected the drag link off of the truck because your pitman arm connects to your steering box, and your pitman arm needs to be straight forward, head on, dead straight when the steering wheel is in the center of its, I guess, steering motions or steering, whatever you want to call it. I'll show you. Okay, so the steering wheel goes all the way to the left, 2 turns pretty much. So let me make this a little easier to explain. So right here is the center. So you've got 1 full turn and then that much, okay? And that's all that you've got. So when you go back to the center, you should have the same thing both ways. So you've got 1 full turn and then almost 1 full turn, okay? So now whenever we go back here to the center, your drag link, you know, obviously will be connected to it, but your pitman arm should be going straight. Right there, pitman arm is dead straight. That's how you know that you have the pitman arm on correctly, on the correct spline, etc. It is dead straight, just like that. Okay, now what you have to do is, with the pitman arm dead straight and the wheels on the truck dead straight, you shorten your drag link until it will go up into that hole. As you can see, this thing's way too long. So that's what this adjusting sleeve is for. But if you take a look at the adjusting sleeve, we can't make this thing much shorter. Okay, so we are going to have to cut off, and I'm not sure because look how much exposed thread is right here and exposed thread right here. So I'm not sure if they make this to where you can cut it to work kinda or what, but I'm going to have to take this drag link back off and slice off some of this and take off the adjusting sleeve off of the tie rod end and slice off some of that. Now I don't think that we'll have to cut off much. I'm gonna do probably 1/2 inch on each side. All of this is threaded, so you don't have to worry about, I mean, you do have to worry about cutting too much off, but you know, that's not gonna be an issue for me. I'm only gonna cut off, you know, we need about right here. All I would have to do is measure this from that stud to that hole is how much we're gonna have to cut off pretty much. And then, you know, you might have to cut off a little bit more just simply because, you know, you don't want them to be touching or whatever. But you definitely want to cut off at least that much. So I'm gonna measure this and cut this off of the drag link, and then we're gonna go from there. So after I cut those on the drag link right there, it actually got short enough, and I literally just ran it as short as I possibly could, and it is pretty much dead straight now, so I won't have to do anything to the drag link or anything special. I just had to trim that off there, and it's probably just from where that is a aftermarket piece. It was just designed a little bit differently than the factory one, and all of the stuff from PMF is designed to work with OEM, you know, parts and whatever. So not PMS fault at all. That was probably Moog's fault, just a little bit. So after I shortened those threads on there, that worked out perfect. I just now got back from test driving the truck, and it drives phenomenal. The PMF 4-link just completely smooths out the front end ride quality. So everything you see in these videos can be picked up on PMF's website. Pretty much tomorrow, guys, all we have left to do is install the rear fender well liners and install the 16-piece DBA DB Automotive rock light set. So we will knock that out tomorrow. I'll try to do a video on that. I want to get Daniel's truck back as quick as possible, and I've ran into a couple hiccups here and there. And just the time having everything at powder coat has just took longer than anticipated. So Daniel's wanting his truck back, no problem. Nobody's fault, you know, at all. This stuff just takes a while. And then for me filming the videos and stuff, it slows it down even more. But yeah, so huge shout out to Daniel, PMF, single shot powder coating, and DB Automotive for the rock lights as well. Huge sponsor here on the channel, DB Automotive. Don't forget, check those guys out for the brightest rock lights on the market. And that's going to be all for this episode, guys. I also ordered a new set of wheels for my truck today, so those will be in within a week or so. I didn't go any bigger. It's just a different kind, different brand. So I'll just be taking my tires off and putting them on the new wheels, so it should be pretty good. I'm just so bored of my wheels. I've had them over a year, and then I also had an F250 that had the same exact spoke pattern wheels, but in a 24x14 on the white F250 that I had, and I'm just tired of them. Sold them, and I just wanted something different. So I ordered a new set of wheels. I've got the ones on my truck right now sold. I just haven't took them off yet, and I am going to be doing videos on that as well. We may actually throw the 26x16s and 40s on this truck before I sell them. But I just haven't had time to do that yet. I'm just running into issues with time, not having time to do everything that I want to do, but we'll get it figured out, guys. Always remember, everybody starts out as nobody, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.